Hey everybody, and welcome to the Microsoft Minute with EchoStor. My name is Steve Caprio, and as always, I'm joined by Chuck Salvo. And today we'll be talking about the sessions that are most interesting to us coming up at the Microsoft Ignite conference. It's out in Chicago, but Chuck and I will both be attending remotely, trying to get through as many virtual sessions as we can, and also look at some of the recordings after the fact. So today we just wanted to cover some of the sessions that are most interesting to us leading into the week. So Chuck, why don't you give us an idea of what you're looking at, what's most intriguing to you?
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, I'm a big fan of AI and data. Right? We're talking about it all the time. We're talking about it with our customers. So I really wanted to focus on what Microsoft has that's remote and also is going to cover these two topics. So I picked off a few. There's some stuff about Fabric and Power Apps and so on and so forth. But this one here, building intelligent multi-agent systems with Azure AI, to me is something that's really fascinating. And the reason why is, if you're not familiar with the agents, basically give AI hands, right? Basically, it gives them the ability to call functions, call methods, to execute things, and then orchestrate that. So I can basically create a multi-agent system that'll go and maybe it'll download resumes, it'll review resumes, it'll schedule interviews. But the idea behind it is that we're using this automation with LLMs to get more done and automate more. To me, this one right here looks really slick, right? Real world example with Thermo Fisher, and they're talking about what they're doing with multi-agent systems. Another couple of good ones here, scalable RAG apps, AI customization. But this one to me looks really slick. Advanced RAG with Llama Index, Azure AI Search, and AI Studio. So we've heard about RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, right? Everyone's been talking about it. They have different solutions. So to me, this one right here is really about how to get this into the enterprise, how to leverage that content that's residing in your organization, whether it's in the cloud, whether it's on premise, and using that information to basically ground your LLM, right? So go out there, make that retrieval, use the search, bring that all together into a chatbot and give users a better experience. So I like this one. I think this looks really slick. Obviously, boost productivity with Fabric and Copilot and AI. Another good one. But to me, if I only get two, this is my second one right here. So I'm super excited. Totally going to record this, go through this, look at what's going on. But Steve, what do you got?
I think, like you, there's definitely a few AI ones that I'm interested on. Obviously, that's a heavy topic. Some sessions probably more valuable than others. I think some of the specificity of the sessions that you just covered are great for us to do some real world mapping with our customer base around those tools that are available to us. For me, one of the primary ones that I'm interested in is focused on Security Copilot. So that one is the Security Copilot and Microsoft Entra Secure Access at the Speed of AI. This one will get into a good amount of detail around how the Security Copilot infrastructure can play with Entra ID and look at things like policy management, the incident response on users. It'll help to look at the sign-in logs and some of the behavioral things that users are doing with their identities across the org. One of the places that I spend a decent amount of time on with customers today is the building out of conditional access policies and the governance and the access governance and all of those things. And when it comes down to troubleshooting why a user may not be able to access something, or taking a look at something that looks like a user got classified as risky and some of their behavior is interesting, I think it's a time-intensive process still. And I think one of the places that Security Copilot can help here is automating a bunch of that investigation for our customers and for those out there that are very focused on security with identities specifically. I think where this is going to be super valuable is people are doing a lot of B2C, B2B type of work. And so have a lot of identities that are external to their organization. And that's why I think this one will be interesting. It is a short session, so it's one of the theater sessions, but I think coming out of that, there'll be some good information about what to check out next.
What about the cost though? Because I remember when we looked at Security Copilot, it was so expensive to get started with it. It looks phenomenal. It looked phenomenal a year ago, right? When we first saw it, it had some really cool features.
Yeah, I think they've definitely dropped the minimum secure compute. So when they first rolled it out, they announced it last year at Ignite and then really rolled it out subsequent to that. A secure compute unit, which is still the way that they're pricing this out, was about $4 per hour, but was required to be on at least one, basically 24/7 for an entire year. So it was $30-something thousand a year without having tried it or seen it. to enter into it. There were ways around that. You could get creative around like reservation or stuff like that. But now they've dropped it. They do make a recommendation that you should start with 3 compute units from performance standpoint. So you take that with a grain of salt, obviously try it out. We have not turned this on at a scale yet where we needed 3. One thing to look at here will be costing it out at 24/7. 1 compute unit is still equal to what they had priced at about $2,900 around that price if you're running it. And that's the floor. If it's doing any other calls or usage based things like logic apps, whatever in the Azure environment, you'll generate more spend as well. So cost is going to be interesting, but if you think about it, if it does deliver the value that they say it might, you're replacing a body in some sense. So it's on the cheaper side from that perspective, especially if you don't have to run it 24/7 or can get away with the scaling of it up and down as needed. So,
and I feel like security has so many transactions that they deal with, so anything that you can do to help minimize the amount of time to get through a case and investigation, whatever it is going to reap some huge rewards because you're going to spend money on security. So this to me is an investment to save money.
Yeah, and I think with so many other security products out there, the one that Microsoft still does a really great job on and really is the standout on is identity, right? It's the backbone of the way most people handle all of their authentication to various SSO apps and their own apps internally. That being the focus area of this particular session was interesting to me, right? There's a lot of AI being injected into the other security products out there, like the CrowdStrikes and the Palos and all those other platforms that may warrant a look in that direction too. I think Microsoft on the identity side is still where a lot of people are focused. So it's an interesting session for that reason. What else you got? The last one that I'll talk about today, but obviously there's a bunch more on my calendar for it, is the Copilot Studio and Azure AI. You touched on a bunch of the Azure AI stuff that's in more specificity, but I think one of the areas that we noticed a little bit of issues on the Copilot side, call it, was Copilot Studio and just the oddities of the way that it worked. And I think this more than anything is both the tie-in with Azure AI and what is available on that side to us, but also who's conducting this session. So it's the program manager for Azure Assistants, Mads Bolaris, and the VP of engineering for Power Apps, Giovanni Della Libera. And with those two guys giving us the look at the real world live demonstrations of how this is going, obviously scripted, right? They're making sure everything works before they get stage. But it's going to give us a really good look at like maybe some of the things that they fixed or how this will help speed up development of AI apps and Power Apps that have this integration to it through Copilot, through building in Copilot Studio. So I'm just excited to see how they talk about it and the iterations that are coming to it, because I think so far it's been a bit frustrating. I think you'd probably agree with that too, based on what you've seen.
Yeah, we had some trouble pushing stuff through Teams, some app deployment. The manifest doesn't get updated. So there's some maturity that needs to happen in the deployment of the app. The actual app itself, I love, like custom Copilot Studio. Again, now you've got function calling. You can bring in different data sources. I do the call, being able to use your own call to Azure AI, and then basically you can bring in Azure Search and all this stuff. So that should be a great session.
Yep. There's a bunch out there that's happening. Obviously, take a look at the session catalog if you're going this year. Sorry, we'll miss you, but we'll have an event or a follow-up Microsoft Minute here afterwards to talk about any key things that we learned. Hopefully, you can join us for that. But yeah, if there's any sessions that you're interested, please reach out. We'll have the contact information afterwards. And until then, we hope you guys have fun at Ignite, and we'll talk after. Thanks. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Please keep an eye out for our next EchoStor Microsoft Minute. If you'd like more information about what we've discussed today or more about EchoStor, visit us at echostore.com. Thanks everybody.